A legend bows out, saluted by generations. The MiG-21 departs, but its legacy will always remain.
All right, we're being joined by two voices this morning. Both the men know MiG-21s better than most. First up, I do want to go across to Marshal Chopra, who led the MiG-21 upgrade project in Russia. Good morning, Marshal Chopra. Thank you for taking out the time. It's an interesting time. We're looking at so many conversations really taking place around the MiG-21s. There's so much that's going to unfold essentially in Chandigarh going forward. But having led this project in Russia, let's take you back all the way. Tell us about that phase in your life. Tell us about your association with this project, and then we'll take this conversation forward.
You know, MiG-21 is now, the first flew in 1955. And there are only two countries in the world which upgraded the MiG-21 yet another time, and that was Indian Air Force and Romania. There were only two countries which upgraded the MiG-21. And I must tell you, the country that has taken the maximum juice out of any of the MiG-21 fleet is India. You know, we have not only manufactured the aircraft in India, nearly 1,200 of them were finally operated, including the ones which we had imported from Russia. But this upgrade was extremely significant. You know, it had got a modern radar which will have look up and look down capabilities. It got BVR missiles. It got TV guided weapons. So the upgrade was significant, and I must tell you, the upgraded aircraft were in India by 2000, and between 2000 and 2025, 25 years, has been a great stretch that we have been able to, do with the MiG-21. And as it retires, now we are the last major air force which has been operating the MiG-21. And I can recall with the nostalgia that all of us young pilots in 1970s have groomed our combat skills on this aircraft. Extremely beautiful design. In the 1950s, it could do Mach 2 plus. It could fly at 67 to 70,000 feet. It had extremely good rate of climb, simple design, easy to maintain, agile, and extremely combat worthy. So I think any amount of adjectives you can give in praise of the MiG-21.
And I do want to touch upon that. You said something very beautifully, Marshal Chopra, which is how capable MiG-21 has been. But many say it's also been as demanding. So I'll come back to you on that. We'll talk about that aspect. But MiG-21s have also had a different kind of history, especially in the last decade or so, has been labeled as the flying coffin, etc. Let's talk about its legacy. In your view, what are the contributions it's made to the Indian military aviation? Historically speaking, so many wars that MiG-21s has participated in, as late as Balakot, and we're seeing the contribution being hailed by the Indian Armed Forces today. Which one of these contributions was your favorite?
You know, firstly, let me tell you that it is very unfortunate, that the MiG-21 was sometimes being referred to as a flying coffin, which it was not. You must understand that at one point, Indian Air Force had 21 squadrons of MiG-21. That means 50% plus of Indian Air Force was MiG-21s. So, of course, in a military flying, there will be some accidents. And since the larger number of fleet and aircraft were MiG-21s, and every time a MiG-21 crashed, somebody would say that's an old aircraft. But honestly, I must tell you, tomorrow when the last of the MiG-21s flies here in Chandigarh, every aeroplane that will be flying will be 100% safe. You don't clear an aircraft to fly. So outstanding performance by this fleet, and unfortunate that some people continue to call it a flying coffin, which we in the Air Force just do not agree. And mind you, the neck on the chopping block is ours. The risk is being taken by our pilots, and nobody is being forced to fly an unserviceable aircraft or something like that. So that is one. Second is about the performance. And I must tell you, we inducted the aircraft in 1963. The first war was in 1965 with Pakistan, but the aircraft was still under operationalization, and so a limited use was made in 1965. But in 1971, outstanding performance. You know, we were pitted in the western sector with the F-104, which was a much better aircraft than the MiG-21, and of course there was Sabre F-86. And in every combat, the MiG-21 outclassed the F-104. In fact, 4 F-104s were shot down by MiG-21s, acknowledged by the Americans, and every analyst in the world has clearly declared MiG-21 as a victor, not only against F-104, against F-105 and many other aircraft that came thereafter.
Marshal Chopra, so much is going to happen the next few hours, and you gave us a glimpse into what the momentous event on Chandigarh is going to look like. Tell us a little bit about the emotions that are then running in the Indian Armed Forces officers, the Air Force officers. How emotional is it for some of these generations of Indian fighter pilots? Tell us a little bit about the mood in Chandigarh.
You know, for last 15 days, there have been WhatsApp groups specially created for the Chandigarh event, and there are some WhatsApp groups which are free for all, where everybody is allowed to say whatever you want to. Of course, there are some administrated groups which are telling you how to come and where to come and etc. But what's going on those free for all, groups is very, very interesting, very, very educating. People are getting statistics, facts, figures, photographs of their own times, of the ladies, how they were climbing up the aircraft, the children. It's a festive mood. You know, we are so excited. The build-up has been so good, and I can see around 2,000 people are expected tomorrow. Not only pilots, engineers, even air traffic controllers, the radars controllers who had worked very, very closely with the MiG-21 fleet. So there is going to be action, and whether it's the airport, the railway station, the bus stands, the hotels, everywhere there is the MiG-21 buzz, if I may use that word, in Chandigarh. And right now we are all getting ready to go for the first ice-breaking party, which will take place this evening, where we all get to share our nostalgic, feelings. Another thing has been, a chart has been made by a lot of research being done by one historian. Anchit Gupta is a civilian, but he's a military child. And he has, so there's a scoreboard on which who has flown the highest. Now, there is one Commodore SS Tyagi who has flown over 6,000 sorties and more than 4,000 hours, which is a world record, which has been already acknowledged by the Russians and the rest of the world.
All stories are going to be shared in these get-togethers that take place. All the fighter pilots who've had the chance to fly the MiG-21 going to be talking about their own stories. And I must then ask you, Marshal Chopra, tell us about a memorable story involving MiG-21, a close call, a proud moment, could be anything involving you or any of your colleagues that is on top of your mind as we speak right now.
Yeah, see, in aviation, lots of close calls. We have not only had close calls, we have people who have flown into the ground, they're flying ultra low level, in the desert, in the dark night. It's not easy to, fly when you have no visual signs in the desert in dark night, or to be able to fly over the sea, though the MiG-21 being a single-engine aircraft doesn't go very deep into the sea. So there have been, very, very many events. I can tell you that in my own batch, at least I know 5 pilots who lost their lives over the period of 40 years, having been in the MiG-21. So there are a lot of things, but the quantum of flying that has been done, in the MiG-21 fleet is humongous, phenomenal, nearly 2 million hours of flying, or maybe more. The exact figures will come out. But this is the kind of flying the fleet has done, and a fleet which has, everybody who has flown this aircraft loves this aircraft. simple aircraft, so simple to fly. You know, one American said recently, he said it's like having a car in your garage, just seeing that the oil and fuel are there, and thereafter, putting the key and starting it and going. That was the way MiG-20 was, so simple to fly. It was like taking out a car from your garage. So MiG-21 has had some, it's going to have it is already having a big fan club, but I think after Indian Air Force retires them, they're going to be a huge fan club, and these stories will keep on emerging, for years to come.
Thank you, Air Marshal Chopra, for breaking down that story for us, for sharing some of those personal experiences of yours. We'll reconnect with you very shortly. I do want to go across on that note to Group Captain Augustine Vinod, veteran MiG-21 pilot and aviation expert who's joining us this morning on the Breakfast Club. Our second big voice to really talk about his own experience. Good morning, Group Captain Vinod. Do you agree to what Air Marshal Chopra just said, that there's a huge fan club of MiG-21? Are you also part of that fan club? Tell us about your flying experience. Air Marshal Chopra, in as many words, said that it's the easiest to fly. It's literally like taking out your car from the garage. Is it that easy? Because there are experts who've come in to say that it is an iconic fighter jet, yes, but it's also very demanding at the same time.
So, to answer to your first question, am I part of the fan club, and how much do I love that aeroplane? I think a picture speaks 1,000 words. So when I retired, and I was so much in awe-struck and in love with this aeroplane that I got myself a MiG-21,
wow,
tattoo on my hand.
Okay, we don't need an answer from you then.
The only tattoo I have is a MiG-21 tattoo on my hand. So, when I got married to my wife, she was also in the Air Force. So, we got married in a mandir and came home. I told her, Varsha, you'll forever remain my second love. Because to me, my first love is MiG-21, and she till date holds me to it and keeps telling me, I am your father's second love to my children. So much is my admiration and love for that aeroplane, for exactly what Marshal said. And incidentally, Marshal's last flight on a MiG-21 was with me. I mean, I was the 2IC of a unit, and his last flight on a MiG-21 was with me. So that honor goes to me. We flew in a place called Udhampur in Jammu and Kashmir, and the question that you asked him that day when we landed is one of my boys in my squadron. Unluckily, he flew into a hill, and immediately after that, Marshal and I got onto an helicopter, went looking for the wreckage, and by evening we found it, and found my perished colleague as well. So those kind of memories are, forever etched. I lost a friend of mine, many, but I lost a very close friend of mine, and my mind sort of, isolated the fact that I lost him. And when we were getting married, when we were making the list for calling people, I jotted his name down. And my wife looked at me, that time wife to be, she looked at me and said, Sandeep is no more Gassia, why have you put his name? So my mind just kind of, isolated or removed that fact that I lost him. So those kind of memories also comes flooding back. That question which you asked Air Marshal. So
Captain Vinod, but
it's
what is
a
this
very,
feeling? What is this attachment to this one machine that despite all the odds, despite having lost your closest friends, despite having had bits and pieces of arguments with your wife over the MiG-21 actually being your first love, what is it that this machine brings to the table, brings to your life, that has made it so very special for you? It's a personal question, but what is it?
So, 2-3 things, which I keep saying this. I flew jets all my life. So, I started off training on a jet called Kiran, but it flew very slow. And from there, it was a quantum leap for a teenager or just out of teen, onto a MiG-21 fighter, which was going to fly at twice the speed of sound. Some of the legends flew those aeroplanes, and I was sitting in it. So that itself is, you know, kind of overwhelming experience to start with. And that was my first day. And those days we flew very few missions in a twin cockpit fighter. And suddenly on the 13th flight, I was flying alone and piercing the sky at some breakneck speed. It was so overwhelming in the initial part of my life. And thereafter, there was a version called MiG-21, is Type 75, which converted to Bison, which is retiring today. Type 75, if you went to Type 75, you could go to those days the advanced fighter, even today, the Mirage 2000 and a MiG-21. So I went to Mirage 2000 thanks to the stepping stone of MiG-21. And then I commanded this unit. And I thank God that I commanded a MiG-21 squadron, because like Marshal said, it's a pilot's aeroplane. There is no level of mastery you could reach. It is like playing a violin. You ask any pianist, violinist, or celloist, he will say there is so much more to learn, because learning in MiG-21 never ends. It never ended till my last mission. I was only learning this particular aeroplane to fly.
Only a fighter pilot group captain can compare a MiG-21. I mean, the look of it is so intimidating for a person like me. Compare it to a violin. So I do understand the sentiment there. But Group Captain Vinod, can I then also ask you, you spoke of how this is a fighter pilot's plane. For generations to come, the ones that are not going to be able to train with MiG-21, what do they stand to lose is what I want to ask you. Because 63 years is a long time. Up until now, every pilot inducted into the Indian Armed Forces has sometime or the other perhaps had the chance to fly this machine. And now that story is going to change. How do you look at that?
The feeling, that you get, that was the third aspect I was going to say, is when you sit in the cockpit and strap up, it is like strapping on to head of a arrowhead. You're part of the aeroplane. It is so small that you feel it is part of your body. And the control column and the thrust lever becomes extension of your limbs. That feeling, I don't know whether, I never got that on a Mirage 2000. Mirage 2000 was more of a technological machine. It had a very good autopilot. So most of the routine flying, you did it on autopilot on a Mirage 2000 and a Rafale or any modern fighter. Except the combat portion, everything else, the automation does it. Here, the only automation was we call it the eyeball Mark II. So 2 pieces of your eyeball, seat of the pants, and continuously holding the control column and this thrust lever, which was extension of your limbs. So it's a feeling that I think ended with our era. I do not think any of the fighters that is there in the Air Force today has that kind of, will give anyone that kind of feeling. But then, I keep saying this, the old leaves have to fall for the new leaves to come, so that the tree thrives, and the tree in this case is Indian Air Force. So the tree needs to thrive, the old leaves like the MiG-21 and I and the Air Marshal need to fall off, retire, go away, so that new leaves come, the new boys take this tree forward, grow this tree into some formidable, towering presence across both northern and the western neighbors.
So which machine are your hopes pinned on? Quickly, we're wrapping up this conversation, but I want that one word. Is it Rafales? Is it Tejas? What is it? Or more?
It's AMCA. My complete money is on AMCA. Okay. AMCA is going to be a very good, I've talked about it many times earlier. AMCA is going to be a very good machine. Probably one of the breakfast show when AMCA comes out. I'm sure I'll be here talking about AMCA to you in 4 to 5 years or 10 years down the
Okay,
road.
lovely. We'd be happy to connect, and we'd be happy to actually be talking about that story in present, not in future. Thank you so much, Group Captain Vinod. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Thank you for sharing all those very interesting stories so very close to your heart. With that, it's time for us to head into a very quick break. On the other side, we shift our focus to how Indian beats have also made global headlines, and all this behind Ed Sheeran's album Play. We'll take you through the Mumbai percussionist, how his contributions to the global album have really created a storm in itself. We'll be right back.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S. Shankar addressed the United Nations and flagged rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them, and I quote, pressure points for many nations. He also criticized the double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue as well as diplomacy. Now, strongly condemning terrorism, Shankar said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities, warning that terrorism remains a perennial disruptor of peace and a threat to development. Listen in.
The costs, especially to the global south, in terms of energy, food and fertilizer security, were starkly demonstrated by ongoing conflicts, particularly in Ukraine and Gaza. Apart from jeopardizing supplies and logistics, access and costs themselves became pressure points on nations. Double standards are clearly in evidence. Excellencies, peace can certainly enable development, but by threatening development, we cannot facilitate peace. Making energy and other essentials more uncertain in an economically fragile situation helps no one. Therefore, the way out is to move the needle towards dialogue and diplomacy, not in the opposite direction towards further complications. In any conflict situation, there will be a few who have the ability to engage both sides. Such countries can be utilized by the international community, both to achieve peace and to maintain it thereafter. So even as we attempt to address complex threats to peace, the value of encouraging a buy-in from those supportive of such goals should be appreciated. A persistent threat to development is that perennial disruptor of peace, terrorism. It is imperative that the world display neither tolerance nor accommodation to terrorist activities. Given the extensive networking among terrorists, those who act against them on any front actually render a larger service to the international community as a whole. As we confront conflict, economic pressures and terrorism, the limitations of multilateralism and the United Nations in particular are visible. The need for reforming multilateralism has never been greater. Colleagues, the international situation is today both politically and economically volatile. We, as members of G20, have a particular responsibility to strengthen its stability and give it a more positive direction. That is best done by undertaking dialogue and diplomacy, by firmly combating terrorism, and by appreciating the need for stronger energy and economic security.
So that was External Affairs Minister S. Shankar making that strong pitch at the United Nations, where he flagged the rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them pressure points for several nations across the globe. This also coming amid the tariff storm that was launched by the Trump administration. Now, he criticized double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue and diplomacy, strongly condemning terrorism. Jaishankar has also said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities, warning that terrorism remains a perennial disruptor of peace and a threat to global development, is the pitch that's coming from S.J. Shankar at the United Nations.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S.J. Shankar addressed the United Nations and flagged rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them, and I quote, pressure points for many nations. He also criticized the double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue as well as diplomacy. Now, strongly condemning terrorism, Jaishankar said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities, warning that terrorism remains a perennial disruptor of peace and a threat to development. Listen in.
The costs, especially to the global south, in terms of energy, food and fertilizer security, were starkly demonstrated by
Welcome back. Well, Ed Sheeran's new album Play has a strong Indian connection and it comes through the ghatam. Hidden in tracks like Sapphire, Old Phone, all of this is distinct clay tone of the ghatam played by Mumbai percussionist Ganesh Murali Iyer. Ganesh is trained in Carnatic music under the legendary Umelpuram K. Sivaraman. But what makes his story stand out is how he's taken a traditional instrument and brought it straight into global pop space, not just through the ghatam, but also with konakol, the vocal percussion technique that is centuries old yet fits right into a Sheeran recording session. There's also the story of how Ed Sheeran was so fascinated by the eco-friendly ghatam that you see on your screens that he's also attempting to play here, that Ganesh ended up gifting him one. There's also the process of recording those 8 tracks, balancing between the Carnatic roots and contemporary sound. This morning, Ganesh joins us to talk to us about the collaboration, all about the creative process and much more. Hi there, good morning Ganesh, hope you're doing well. Your social media, Ganesh, is all about Play. That's the big name, the big album. How did this opportunity to work with Ed Sheeran's 2025 album come about? First up, tell us that. And how was it really like walking into a recording room with him for the first time?
So actually, it all started like in 2024, April and May, wherein I got a call, right, from Warner Music India, the then A&R, his name is Abhishek Patil. So, I mean, he had asked me to register like for this one international artist collaboration. And to be honest, I didn't know much about it. I just knew that it's an international artist and he doesn't know much about our Indian classical music and our tradition of music, etc. So I was given that kind of a basic idea before I had to go and record. But I had absolutely no clue about who the artist would be. Around like just 2 or 3 days before the recording session started in Goa, you know, he asked me, hey bro, are you not interested in knowing who you're going to record for? And I was like, yeah, just let me know, like, I don't know. You can tell me, I have no problem. And he was like, bro, you're like playing for Ed Sheeran. And then I couldn't, like, I didn't know how to take that information because like I had not even expected it in my wildest dreams, right? Like no one expects to record an Indian percussion instrument for Ed Sheeran because the kind of world I come from and the kind of world he comes from, they are like completely different. So I was extremely excited for this entire like week that I was going to spend in Goa. along with Ed and his producers, his recording engineers, etc. And it was an amazing experience being in Goa with Ed. And we used to record every day for like around 2 hours. I recorded the kanjira and the ghatam, which are two percussion instruments of South India, which are mainly played in Carnatic classical music, but also for folk music also. They were actually folk instruments that later on were like elevated to like the classical stage.
If you just go by these visuals, clearly Ed is enjoying playing the ghatam, and we'll play this one video right at the end of the conversation. We promise that, viewers. But tell us a little bit about ghatam, Ganesh. It's been an integral part of your musical journey. You don't have it, unfortunately, right now for us to take a look at it, get a first-up experience of what listening to it is like. But we can start with a little bit of konakol, if that's okay, the vocal percussion technique in Carnatic music. Possibly give us a melody that's very close to your heart.
So I'll give a small demonstration of what exactly konakol is. It's the vocal percussion of South India, and it's exactly like any other language that we speak, like English or Hindi. So it goes like this. It has many syllables in it, and which are like put together to one particular groove or rhythm. So like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Takadimi takajirnu, takadimi takajirnu, takadimi takajirnu, takadimi takajirnu. Tarikadakadim, tarikadakadim, tarikadakadarim,
Lovely, Ganesh. We have to now ask you, Ed Sheeran reportedly loved that eco-friendly ghatam so much that you ended up gifting him one. There's a cool story there. What was his reaction like to the instrument, the sound? Tell us more about this.
So actually, I remember this very well, that the moment I removed the ghatam from its case and I started playing it in front of him, he kind of got attached to the sound, saying that he had not seen any instrument with this kind of a texture, right? It's a very earthy texture. Most percussion instruments are made from some kind of a leather, right? All across the planet. But this is like a percussion instrument that is made from mud and some metals. So he was really like taken into the story of it, and he started jamming on it with me. Like he requested whether he could play it, and I was like more than happy for him to play it. And I kind of discovered that Ed Sheeran, apart from being an amazing songwriter and singer, he also is like very good at percussion. Like his percussive abilities are really professional, and like we used to jam a lot on the ghatam. Even when he came back for like a video shoot of Sapphire in around February or March during his tour, we had like a random moment wherein we both jammed on Shape of You and Sapphire, and one of those videos went extremely viral on Instagram and YouTube actually. So yeah, I mean, he loved the instrument so much, and he wanted to know like how he could procure it, and I said, you don't need to do that. I would be more than happy to gift you one. And I sent over a ghatam to the UK. So that's how that story went.
Wow, lovely. Ganesh, you're blending centuries-old rhythms with chart-topping pop. Were you always open to the idea of this kind of a fusion? Or given that you had no idea this is coming to you, that entire perception in your mind has changed post this super hit collaboration with Ed Sheeran?
To be honest, I had not thought about it because like, I mean, it's like kind of a dream collaboration for me too, because I have been listening to Ed Sheeran's music right from when I was like 11 or 12 years old, right? And I mean, he's always been there, like he's been the part of every young Gen Z Indian kid's journey. Like everyone knows Shape of You and Perfect. So I never expected to play the kanjira or the ghatam, which is used in like very traditional Carnatic music, on his album. Like doing a song with Ed Sheeran itself is a big thing, and in my opinion, being on 8 tracks from a huge album, it's like an honor for me, to be honest. So I never thought about blending it in such a way, but now that I am a part, like now that I am on his album and I have done it once, now I have an idea as to how I can do it in my own style, right? So definitely, like in the future, of course, I would love to do it here in India, and I would want other Carnatic musicians and classical musicians also to venture into this space, because it's a nice thing to keep exploring yourself and your music.
You know, well, we're not going to be able to see you perform with the Ghatam, but we can definitely keep pushing you with Konakol. So tell us a little bit about your vision for Konakol in the future. Do you think it's being adopted more than ever before, especially with international collaborations such as this? And can you also quickly listen into one of your favorites maybe?
Like, I mean, right now the Konakol is doing very good, because, you know, like you must have heard this viral song called as Paradesiya, and the song itself starts with that. Takadom takadom ta na 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 re. Takadom takadom, like takadom is like a very Carnatic Konakol phrase that we use in all of our programs, like in all our groove patterns. Like even if I have to like invite you to a concert, like, and how to make it rhythmic, I can do that by just you know, like speaking Konakol. Like for example, hi, come to my concert, takadena tom, hi, come to my concert, takadena tom, ta dom, hi, come to my concert, it's in the evening, takadena tom, it's in the evening, takadena dom, takadena dom, takadena dom. So basically, like the more you do Konakol, you understand that everything in life that you do has some kind of rhythm to it, and you start appreciating like the intricacies of rhythm a bit more. And another beautiful aspect of our South Indian vocal percussion is that it's based on math, right? And everything that I'm speaking right now, all the rhythms, the grooves, they are all set to like a particular number of beats or micro beats. It's counted, there's a permutation combination to it, and you know, that's how it is composed. So it's something very, very unique and very interesting just to India and the Indian subcontinent as a whole.
In my head, as you were teasing, come to my concert, I was wanting you to tease, watch The Breakfast Club. But thank you, that was wonderful, Ganesh. Let's talk about the larger picture here of fusion. Some say fusion is essential for survival of classical music, especially with changing times, changing music preferences. What are your thoughts there?
I feel that, like in my opinion, fusion has been happening right from the beginning itself. Because like, what is exactly fusion? Like you put in few genres, or like you put in different instruments together and you make music, right? It's about bringing in different instruments or like different genres from different cultures, and putting it together and like making something out of it. This has been happening since a very long time. Like for example, the Ghatam and the Kanjira, they were like folk instruments, and around like 150 years back, we did not have them in traditional Carnatic concerts. But then one of the musicians, he went a step ahead and he brought them to the concert stage. So there was fusion even in that time. So I don't exactly think that it's a bad thing, because I mean, we just changed with the times. Like electronic music was invented in the 70s and 80s, and we started incorporating a keyboard player, you know, on the stage with us, or like a drummer on the stage with us, which is fine. I mean, in the end of the day, we all just want to have fun on stage. We want to make music that we love and that the people would like, love to listen to. So I feel that we are just changing with the times, and we're just all trying to have fun, like collectively. So it's a good thing. Lovely. Because it's been there since a very, very long time.
Okay, Ganesh, music is music after all, isn't it? As we come to the end of this conversation, we're approaching the last few minutes. I want you to send out a message to our audience before we wrap up in Konakol style.
I would love to do that. Actually, like my Guruji, he's like a very veteran Mridangam maestro. His name is Padma Vibhushan Dr. Umayalpuram K. Shivaraman sir. So he, I remember this, the very, like when I was around 15 years old, that's when I started learning under him. Like I started my advanced training in Mridangam under him. And on the very first class, like this is the first lesson that he taught me on that day. And it was that, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Be happy, be jolly, be cheerful. Tadigirnadom. Be happy, be jolly, be cheerful. Tadinginadom. Be happy, be jolly, be cheerful. Tagadinginadom. Be happy, be jolly, be cheerful. Tati-kinadom. Tati-kinado ta. Tati-kinado. Tati-kinado. Tati-kinado ta. So that was like the kind of message that I got on the very first class with my guru, wherein he said that, you know, I don't know whether you're going to do it full time or you're just going to pursue our music as a hobby, but whatever you do in life, whether you are a professional or you're into academics or any profession you choose, just remember these 3 words of being happy, being jolly with whatever you do, and always be cheerful to whoever you come across, because that will make a very, very big difference in your life and you will be able to enjoy your life.
Well, you've got us tapping our feet this morning. Thank you so much for all the positivity you brought to the Breakfast Club, and thank you for those lovely melodies, Ganesh. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me over, and thank you for having this lovely chat with me. It was, it means a lot. Thank you so much.
And well, as promised, we're going to play out this short sequence, that one video that's gone viral on social media, which is Ganesh performing the Ghatam with Ed Sheeran.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Dim. That's so fun. Okay, 1.
Hello.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S.J. Shankar addressed the United Nations and flagged rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them, and I quote, pressure points for many nations. He also criticized the double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue as well as diplomacy. Now, strongly condemning terrorism, Jai Shankar said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities, warning that terrorism remains a perennial disruptor of peace and a threat to development. Listen in.
The costs, especially to the global south, in terms of energy, food and fertilizer security, were starkly demonstrated by ongoing conflicts, particularly in Ukraine and Gaza. Apart from jeopardizing supplies and logistics, access and costs themselves became pressure points on nations. Double standards are clearly in evidence. Excellencies, peace can certainly enable development, but by threatening development, we cannot facilitate peace. Making energy and other essentials more uncertain in an economically fragile situation helps no one. Therefore, the way out is to move the needle towards dialogue and diplomacy, not in the opposite direction towards further complications. In any conflict situation, there will be a few who have the ability to engage both sides. Such countries can be utilized by the international community, both to achieve peace and to maintain it thereafter. So even as we attempt to address complex threats to peace, the value of encouraging a buy-in from those supportive of such goals should be appreciated. A persistent threat to development is that perennial disruptor of peace, terrorism. It is imperative that the world display neither tolerance nor accommodation to terrorist activities. Given the extensive networking among terrorists, those who act against them on any front actually render a larger service to the international community as a whole. As we confront conflict, economic pressures and terrorism, the limitations of multilateralism and the United Nations in particular are visible. The need for reforming multilateralism has never been greater. Colleagues, the international situation is today both politically and economically volatile. We, as members of G20, have a particular responsibility to strengthen its stability and give it a more positive direction. That is best done by undertaking dialogue and diplomacy, by firmly combating terrorism, and by appreciating the need for stronger energy and economic security.
So that was External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar making that strong pitch at the United Nations, where he flagged the rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them pressure points for several nations across the globe. This also coming amid the tariff storm that was launched by the Trump administration. Now, he criticized double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue and diplomacy, strongly condemning terrorism. Jaishankar has also said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities, warning that terrorism remains a perennial disruptor of peace and a threat to global development, is the pitch that's come in from S. Jaishankar at the United Nations.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar addressed the United Nations and flagged rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them, and I quote, pressure points for many nations. He also criticized the
Welcome back. We now return with more from the world of entertainment. All of the headlines from Bollywood, from Hollywood, all of the controversies and the most talked about moments this last 1 week. Titash Chaudhary from Network 18's Shosha gets you this special report.
Hello there, let's take a quick look at the week that was. Aryan Khan's The Bads of Bollywood has landed in a controversy over a scene featuring Ranbir Kapoor smoking an e-cigarette without any health disclaimer. The National Human Rights Commission has urged the Ministry of INB to take action against such content on OTT platforms that could impact youngsters and recommended registering an FIR against Ranbir, the producers and Netflix under the Prohibition of Electronic Cigarettes Act 2019. The scene has also surprised Ranbir's fans as the actor had revealed that he had quit smoking. The Film Federation of India confirmed Neeraj Ghaiwan's Homebound has been selected as India's official entry for the Best International Feature category at the 2026 Oscars. The announcement comes ahead of the film's theatrical release on September 26th, setting the stage for its Oscar campaign. So far, only 3 Indian films, Mother India, Salaam Bombay and Lagan, have secured nominations in this category. None of them have gone on to win. India's Oscar triumphs have instead come in open categories, most recently with RRR winning 2 awards in 2023. Poonam Pandey's casting as Mandodari, wife of Ravana, in the iconic Love Kush Ramleela staged at Delhi's Red Fort sparked a controversy with political and religious groups raising objections. In response, the Love Kush Ramleela committee has now announced that she will be removed from the play as they don't want any controversy to overshadow the event. In their words, her involvement could hinder the core purpose of the Ramleela to spread the message of Lord Ram to society, but that this move shouldn't be seen as disrespect towards Poonam. A viral video has emerged casting doubt over the circumstances surrounding Assamese singer Zubeen Garg's tragic death. The footage reportedly from Singapore shows him being coerced into the sea by members linked to the Assam Association of Singapore. The incident has sparked widespread outrage and grief, with fans and officials demanding accountability. Back in Guwahati, thousands of his fans and admirers paid their respects as Zubeen's body was laid in a glass casket. The investigation into his death, registered by the Assam CID, is still ongoing. Jimmy Kimmel Live has returned to ABC after a week-long suspension. The Walt Disney Company had paused the show to avoid inflaming tensions over Jimmy Kimmel's remarks about the MAGA movement's response to Charlie Kirk's death. Over 400 artists, including Tom Hanks, Meryl Streep, and Jennifer Aniston, signed an open letter supporting him and condemning the suspension as censorship. Amid rising concerns about restrictions on media and public commentary under Donald Trump's leadership, Angelina Jolie too stated that she doesn't recognize her country anymore. That's all for this week. I'll see you soon.
And well, thank God it's Friday, isn't it? Where do you then go to watch your favorite movies this weekend? What are the new OTT releases? Kaveri Gupta's got the perfect weekend itinerary for you. Take a look.
Hello wonderful people, it's me Kaveri Gupta back again with your favorite weekend segment, Thank God It's Friday, where we tell you exactly what to do this weekend. So settle in because it is showtime. First up in theatres is Homebound. Produced by Karan Johar, this heartfelt drama follows two childhood friends from a small North Indian village chasing respectable jobs. But life's pressures put their bond to test. Plus, it's officially India's submission for the Oscars, so expect something special from the Homebound. Next is They Call Him OG, already in theatres. This gritty Mumbai underworld saga stars Pawan Kalyan as Ojas Gambhira, aka OG, a feared gangster fighting to reclaim his empire after years away. Imran Hashmi also co-stars in this intense thriller. And for Hollywood lovers, there's one battle after another. Leonardo DiCaprio leads this action-packed tale about ex-revolutionaries reuniting to rescue a comrade's daughter after 16-year enemy resurfaces. A perfect dose of suspense and reunion drama. But if you're too lazy to get off the couch, we've got you. Here's what's trending on OTT right now. Streaming on Netflix, his son of Sardar 2, Jassi's trip to Scotland to reconcile with his ex-wife spirals into a riot of Punjabi wedding chaos, mistaken identities and gangsters. At In a Sweet Village, boys search for a golden mango, and you've got a laugh-out-loud family musical extravaganza. On Netflix again is Alice in Borderland 3. The survival games aren't over yet. Arisu faces new deadly challenges and a mysterious Joker stage, all while dealing with the kidnapping of Usagi by a scientist obsessed with the afterlife. Expect nerve-shredding action and deep emotional twists. Next on Prime Video is Too Much with Kajol and Twinkle. This candid celebrity chat show premieres kicks off with Amar and Salman Khan joining for fun games and behind-the-scene Bollywood stories. New episodes drop weekly for this one, perfect for your binge list. And if you are more of an out-and-about kind of weekend warrior, here's where to head. It's Navratri season, so get ready to dance. Garba and Dandiya nights are lighting up Noida, while East India's biggest Navratri Utsav, Rangtari 2025, will have you moving to the beats of Mame Khan in Cuttack, Odisha. And don't miss Adnan Sami live in Hyderabad tomorrow, a musical treat you wouldn't want to forget. And for some hearty laughs, Akash Gupta's stand-up show Daily Ka Kaam Hai is happening this Sunday in Mumbai. Comedy lovers, mark your calendars. Well, that's a wrap from me this week on Thank God It's Friday. Catch you next time with more big screen hits, OTT goodies and the hottest events around. Have a fun weekend. Bye-bye.
It is Friday and we're not going to be seeing you through the weekend, but we will show up next Monday, 8 a.m. We'll see you there. Don't forget to send us your suggestions on what you want us to cover over the next 1 week. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
External Affairs Minister S.J. Shankar addressed the United Nations and flagged rising global economic pressure due to restricted access and high costs, calling them, and I quote, pressure points for many nations. He also criticized the double standards in the international approach to conflicts and urged the global community to shift the focus to dialogue as well as diplomacy. Now, strongly condemning terrorism, Jai Shankar said that the world must show zero tolerance or accommodation to such activities.